Antonio Brown is back in the news last night. Video surfaced late last night of him working out with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson throwing some deep balls, Antonio Brown catching them. And the question now is, would you want your team to sign Antonio Brown? As we know, this is a guy who played one game last year, supposed to be on the Raiders. Obviously, through watching Hard Knocks, how that lucked out perfectly. We know that didn't last too long. Didn't make it out of training camp. Goes to the Patriots, plays one game, and then is cut. And now NFL Network's Mike Silver is reporting that two teams are interested in signing Antonio Brown and bringing him on and really kind of putting themselves over the top to try to make a Super Bowl run. Those two teams interested are the Seahawks, which makes sense. He was working out with not only Geno Smith earlier, but now, again, we see him working out with Russell Wilson. And the Baltimore Ravens, his cousin Marquise Hollywood Brown is on the Ravens as a wide receiver. So those two teams, Seahawks and the Ravens, are both legitimately interested in signing Antonio Brown. Skill-wise, it makes sense, right? He's one of the best receivers in the NFL. Like I said, he is one of the hardest receivers to cover. He can play inside, he can play outside. He's quick with his cuts. He has great hands. He can run under the ball. He has speed. He's great after the catch. He has a lot of tools that make him so hard to cover, make him one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And I think it's easy to say, whether it's the Ravens, if they sign him, whether it's the Seahawks, if they sign him, they immediately skyrocket to the top of the list of either co-Super Bowl favorites or Super Bowl favorites. Right? I think it's safe to say if the Seahawks sign Antonio Brown, they are the Super Bowl favorites to come out of the NFC. I think they bump ahead of the 49ers. I think they go ahead of the Buccaneers. I think they go ahead of, whether you're a fan of the Saints or whether you're a fan of the Packers, I think they can bounce back. Whatever team you want to pick in the NFC, I think the Seahawks, if they add Antonio Brown, would be the top of the list to go to and would be the favorites to go to the Super Bowl. And AFC, I think the Ravens are right there with the Chiefs. I really do. I think they're pretty close right now. I think the Chiefs are still number one. I think the Ravens are close. This signing may put them over the top. You may favor Patrick Mahomes, but okay, it's 1-1A, let's say. So this is a move that would instantly boost the odds for either team to make a Super Bowl run and try to get the Lombardi Trophy. So should either of them do it? Or any team, for that matter. But specifically, should the Ravens or the Seahawks pull the trigger, make the move to try to sign Antonio Brown and bring him on their team? My answer is a hard no. Absolutely not. And there is plenty of worries, both on the field and off the field, that make me say that despite the talent, despite the ability that, of him in the lineup, that would open up everything else, that would make, again, these teams great. I absolutely would not bring him on. I think both of them should steer clear and look elsewhere if they want to bring in some more talent. And like I said, some off-field worries for sure. Let's start with the on-field worries. Because let's not forget here, this is a guy who quit on his team not once, but twice. In 2018, let's go back to the first time. He was on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Week 17, the Steelers basically have a playoff game, right? They're in the playoff hunt. Them and the Ravens, the Steelers have to win their last game of the year. The Ravens have to lose, and if that happens, the Steelers are in the playoffs. So, again, pretty much a playoff game because it's a must-win for the Steelers. Week 17. Leaves practice middle of the week. Frustrated, upset about what's going on with Ben Roethlisberger. There's some reports that, he's throwing footballs at the quarterback. He's very upset about what's going on, about not getting basically too much blame, not enough credit. Leaves practice midweek. Doesn't show up to practice the rest of the week. Skips the Saturday night walkthrough. No one knows where he is. Not answering his phone. And because of that, Mike Tomlin says, all right, this guy's not going to show up. We're not going to play him. Makes him inactive the day of the game. Week 17, he's not allowed to play. He quit on his team. In a game where you have to win, you get in the playoffs. He quit on his team, didn't show up, and then when he showed up to the stadium, found out that he wasn't playing and went home. Quitter. Let's go fast forward to 2019. Really, even just a few months later. After 2018, that's the last game of the year. Steelers win, but so do the Ravens, so the Steelers don't go to the playoffs. A few months later, they trade Antonio Brown to the Raiders. And what happens? As we know, we watch on Hard Knocks. He burned his feet in a cryotherapy chamber because he didn't wear the proper socks. So the Raiders can't even get this guy on the field to start training camp because his feet are charred. Then, when his feet are supposedly healthy and he can practice, then he starts complaining about his helmet because his helmet is outlawed. It's too old. The NFL outlawed the type of helmet Antonio Brown wore because they said it's too old. You have to modernize. You have to get a better helmet to protect yourself. Antonio Brown freaks out to the point where he tries to paint his old helmet, tries to make it look new, and there's a whole fiasco. Antonio Brown's not going to training camp. He's not practicing because he doesn't have the right helmet. And as we know, this is all on Hard Knocks. And before week 1 even starts, they trade for him in March. By early September, the Raiders, after trading draft picks and giving him a new contract nonetheless. Think about that. He got out of Pittsburgh. He wanted out of Pittsburgh. He got out of Pittsburgh. He gets traded to the Raiders. They gave him a new contract. They restructure his deal to give him more money, give him a bigger contract. He still is upset, gets and forces his way out of Oakland before one game is even played. So why, my question is, on the field, why wouldn't he do this again? The last 2 years, 2018 and 2019, he has forced his way off a team, whether it was either before a game, like in Pittsburgh, or before the season even started, like it was with Oakland. So to me, I look at it, with football being the ultimate team game, with football being the game where you need to count on your man, almost in a warlike mentality, right? I think you hear that from a lot of former players, and they talk about what it means to be a good teammate. The mentality of players on the field is very warlike. You talk about foxhole guys. Football is a sport where you need to have your guys back. You need to be able to count on the other 10 guys on the field with you to get their jobs done in order to win. It is the ultimate team sport you hear, because there's no way that you can just win a game or even have a successful play with one person doing all the work. If only one person doesn't do their job, the entire play fails, the entire team fails. And if you don't have confidence or have faith that the person on your team can get the job done, there's doubt there, you won't be successful. And to me, I look at Antonio Brown, forget what he can do on the field, or talent-wise, I should say. I wouldn't be able to trust him that he's going to be the guy when the going gets tough, he's going to keep going. Once a quitter, to me, always a quitter, especially when it comes to the sport of football. Because that's a sport you cannot afford to have one person not all in. That's a sport you cannot afford to have one person on the team you can't trust. When the going gets tough, that they're going to buckle up their chin strap and play even harder. They're going to dig in their heels, mentally be tough, and keep on fighting through. Because you got to think, whoever gets in, the Ravens or the Seahawks, right? They're going to be pretty much have one of the best records in their respective conference. But when the playoffs come, if he's on the Ravens, when it's time to play the Chiefs, if he's on the Seahawks, when it's time to play the 49ers or the Buccaneers or the Cowboys or the Eagles, whatever team that you like coming out of the NFC, you need to be able to count on the fact that these games are going to be tough. You need to count on Antonio Brown to be able to make a play when a play has to be made. And I don't believe he's the guy. I don't believe you can trust him. So on field, I worry that he's not going to quit. I worry that he's going to quit again. He has showed when it gets tough, he will quit. I don't want a guy on my team. I don't want a guy, especially on my team, when we're so close to that, to where he can just derail an entire season. So on field, I have concerns. Off field, I have even more concerns. I think about the legal troubles he's in. He's facing burglary and battery charges for an incident in January with a moving truck. That's not even counting the civil allegations of sexual assault and rape that he faced when he was a member of the Patriots last year. So he has all this legal trouble that the NFL still has to figure out what a punishment's going to be. If a team signs him, there's going to be a punishment. There's going to be some sort of suspension. So you got to figure out, okay, how long is the suspension going to be? Is it going to be worth signing him to lose him for 6, 8, 10, 4? Like, no one knows what the punishment's going to be. Not to mention, this is a guy who, has known to burn bridges already. Think about it. After the Patriots cut him, he tweeted his retirement and then went on a Twitter rant calling out Robert Kraft and the NFL for all, obviously with what Robert Kraft had with his own trouble with some massage parlor workers down in Florida. But this is a guy that, again, can you trust him when you bring him on the team that he's going to be there for an entire season? You can't. He's a walking distraction. He has major issues off the field. He has so many issues off the field, you can't even trust, okay, if he's balled in on the field, then when he leaves the facility at night, after a game's over on a Sunday, he's going to go home and everything's going to be okay. Think about it. He played one game in a year and a half. Since week 16 of 2018, he's played in one NFL game. But yeah, we keep talking about him a lot because he keeps getting in trouble off the field. This is the first time we're talking about Antonio Brown, whether team should sign him or not. Every other time Antonio Brown's been mentioned in the news, anytime Antonio Brown has been mentioned on SportsCenter or an article is written about him, it's always about some off-the-field issue that he has, always about some distraction that he's creating and bringing upon himself. So there's a lot of baggage, there's a lot of drama that you welcome if you sign him to your team. And for me, especially seeing the two teams that are interested with the Seahawks and the Ravens, they both are so close already with the team that they have. Right? Both went to the divisional round last year. Both have, with the Seahawks, they have a elite franchise, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. The Ravens hope they have that, and they have an ascending young quarterback that right now, the ceiling seems to be infinite. Both are so close to breaking through and making another Super Bowl run for the Seahawks or making a Super Bowl run with the new regime that they have there and the new talent that they have in Baltimore. So for me, if I'm both of these teams so close to the cusp of getting to the Super Bowl, the last thing I want to do is bring in a distraction that can derail my hopes, that can ruin it before we even get started. That is, instead of the reason going to the Super Bowl is because we just didn't have enough talent or just didn't play well enough that game, because there's too many distractions, your team's not focused, answering too many questions about Antonio Brown doing this, complaining about not getting the ball. I just think it's too much. There's too much baggage. There's too much risk that could derail the Super Bowl hopes of either the Seahawks or the Ravens. I wouldn't bring them in. I wouldn't. If I'm a fan of those teams, I hope they don't sign them. If I'm a general manager or a head coach, I say I'm not interested. Just like Bruce Arians came out. Keeps getting linked back to the Buccaneers because of their relationship with Tom Brady. Bruce Arians keeps saying, I'm not interested. We're not doing that. He's a massive, massive, massive distraction that, to me, brings more harm than good. But I'm curious your thoughts. Would you want your team to sign Antonio Brown? Does his talent outweigh the distractions he brings? Because guess what we know about the NFL? The NFL, more than any other league, really maybe more than any other place in life, any other job in life, if you have talent, they can look past your shortcomings. They will give you another chance, really no matter what you do. If you can play, you're going to get a chance. So you can do drugs. You can be a bad husband off the field. You can be abusive. Doesn't matter. If you can play, yeah, we'll deal with it as a suspension. You're going to get signed. We've seen it time and time and time again. So it's not a moral question when it comes to the NFL or should Antonio Brown get signed. The talent is still there. We know the talent is still there. Which is why teams are even interested in the first place when he's done everything possible to kind of sabotage his own career. So we know most teams aren't afraid to take on the baggage, aren't afraid to take on the distractions, despite the fact that he's been on 3 teams in a year and a half. 2 of them, he didn't last more than a few weeks. So I would not sign Antonio Brown. I think, to me, death with the distractions, the baggage he brings, the drama he brings, outweigh the massive talent that he has. And if I was a Seahawks fan, if I was a Ravens fan or a head coach or a general manager, I would not do it. I would steer clear of Antonio Brown. I would like the team I have and keep the team I have now